He came to the icy land of the Arctic. Every day the first thing he did after waking up was come here to shovel snow. He would not stop until the black soil underneath was revealed. He would not even let go of a tiny white stone. And the reason for doing this was just to make the black look even more obvious here, because this was a huge SOS rescue sign. He had already been trapped in the Arctic for 3 years. The man repeated 3 things every day. The second thing was to come to the trap, to see today's harvest, because there was no bait. It was normal not to catch fish, but just then, another trap made a loud crash. He hurried and ran over, slowly pulling up the line. It was a salmon unique to the Arctic, but after catching the prey there was no joy on his face. He had already eaten this food for 3 whole years. Because there was no source of fire, he could only eat raw salmon sashimi every time. Out there this might be an expensive delicacy, but to the man, it was like chewing wax. After replenishing his strength, the alarm clock beside him rang at this time. It was reminding him to go do the third thing, which was to take the radio outside to search for a signal. And every time he had to change locations. Because of geomagnetic interference, the range he could search was extremely limited. Perhaps only when the signal source came to him, the green light on the machine would turn on. This was the man's daily life. But besides facing the harsh Arctic environment, he also had to be on guard against the animals here. The next day he came to the trap like usual, but found the food box seemed to have been destroyed by something. The fish inside had also disappeared. The next second he saw a huge footprint nearby. It was a polar bear's. He quickly ran back to the plane. In such a season of food shortage, it was not impossible for a polar bear to target humans. But after waiting a long time he did not see its figure. The man thought that guy must have eaten and left, so he decided to go out again to search for a signal. But he unexpectedly found the polar bear wandering not far away. It might have been waiting to attack when its prey lowered its guard. So for now the man was temporarily safe. Then he went to another hill and continued shaking the radio. But just then a huge storm was approaching from not far away. Soon the wind began howling. The man had no choice but to give up and leave. But right at that moment, the green light suddenly blinked once. Although it was just a moment, even with the slightest chance, he had to try to seize it. Sure enough, with his constant shaking, the green light lit up again. Then he looked around searching for the signal source. The next second a helicopter appeared in sight. When the man saw it, he quickly pulled out the smokestick he had prepared to call for rescue. Luckily this was the white Arctic, so the smoke became even more visible. They quickly spotted him. Seeing the plane turning around and flying toward him, he was overjoyed. It was the first time in 3 years he smiled. However, just when the man thought he was saved, fate played another joke on him. Because of the storm just now, the helicopter could not move forward at all. Then it began to shake violently, and then lost control, flying the opposite direction. The man thought they decided not to save him, but the next second, it crashed straight into the ground. The man never expected that after finally having a chance to escape, such an accident would happen. But now was not the time for sadness. Saving lives was the priority. The man rushed to the crash site. When he dragged the pilot out, he had already stopped breathing. Fortunately, the woman sitting in the co-pilot seat was still alive, but her stomach was badly injured, although it did not hit a vital organ. If not treated in time, she could also die from infection. The man quickly searched the plane, hoping to find some medicine. Luckily he found a medical kit, but the things inside could only temporarily stitch the wound. If she wanted full treatment, they had to reach a hospital. But this was the deserted Arctic. There would be no hospital. The woman remained in a coma, feeling her heart beating. The man felt a little relieved. Then he began searching the plane again, to see if there was anything useful. Fortunately, he found 2 glow sticks and a map. These were good things. With a map maybe he could find a research station. Even more fortunate, he found a bucket of instant noodles. For the man this was a rare delicacy. He tore open the package, and shoved it into his mouth without hesitation, carefully savoring it, feeling the aroma of instant noodles. After finishing he still relished the taste. At last he decided to take the woman back first. Before leaving he left a rescue message in the plane. When he got home, he hugged the woman first, slowly feeling the presence of another human. This gave his lonely life some comfort, and gave him the motivation to keep living. After all, he had been alone for so long. It was hard to control himself when seeing the opposite sex. Then he let her try to clench her fist, feeling the strength in her palm. The man finally felt at ease. Seeing the woman faint in grief, he instantly felt guilty. If not for saving him, maybe their plane would not have crashed. After settling her, the man returned to the crash site. He first handled the pilot's body simply, then began searching for supplies. He touched the man's clothes, and actually found a lighter. Seeing the flame, the man was overjoyed. That meant he no longer had to eat raw food. He quickly stuffed the lighter into his pocket. Even more fortunate, he found a gas tank and a gas stove. In the icy Arctic, these were luxuries. Just as he was about to search another place, he accidentally found a photo. Then he realized the woman and the pilot were husband and wife, and they had a newborn child. This made him feel even more guilty. Because of that guilt, he decided no matter what to take the woman alive out of the Arctic. Then he began planning a route on the map. Just then a trap outside went off. The man ran out immediately, seeing a big fish caught. This time he smiled, because now he had a lighter and a gas stove. He no longer had to eat raw salmon. Back home he cooked seafood instant noodles. Eating it was incredibly delicious. Seeing the woman beside him, he quickly used a fork to scoop some fish to feed her. Maybe because she just lost her husband, the woman was still in pain. Facing the second bite from the man, she refused just to eat it. The man gently comforted her. The rescue team would surely find them. After eating and drinking, he began checking supplies, preparing to head to the research station. Before leaving, he also left a rescue message in the plane, hoping someone passing by would see it. The journey ahead would be very long. They not only had to cross nearly 200 kilometers of snowy mountains, but also did not know what dangers awaited them. Perhaps the polar bear was still watching them, because he had to bring the woman. Whenever facing steep slopes, he had to replan the route. This only made their journey longer, but no matter what, he would not abandon the woman. At night, they looked for a cave to sleep in. Before entering, the man blocked the entrance with snow. This would prevent beasts from smelling them. Then he simply cooked boiled fish, but the woman still had not come out of her grief. Facing the food he handed her, she still would not eat. He had no choice but to give her some water. Seeing the woman quietly fall asleep, he also prepared to rest. But just then, he heard footsteps outside. Something was wandering nearby. He picked up the shovel and carefully looked toward the cave entrance. The next second, the snow was suddenly pushed away. It was the polar bear. It had been secretly following them all along, waiting for them to relax their guard to attack. But the polar bear ignored its size. It could not fit into such a small cave. But the man would not sit and wait to die. He lit a glow stick, because he knew this creature had tracked him so long. It would not give up easily. It would stay at the entrance until its prey lost the will to resist. Instead of being trapped to death inside, it was better to fight back. This method worked. Soon the polar bear fled. The two of them narrowly escaped. After driving the bear away, the man stood frozen in place, unable to recover from the fright. He knew the road was still long, and more dangers awaited them. Soon a new challenge appeared. A tall rocky slope blocked their way, but the man remembered there was no slope on the map, because in the harsh Arctic, maps could not be perfectly accurate. Now they had only two choices: climb the steep slope, or go around the snowy mountain another way. If they chose the second, they would walk nearly 3 times farther. It was a difficult choice. Climbing the slope would lead to a flat open road. If the man went alone, he could reach the destination quickly, but he swore he would live with the woman together, no matter what. He decided to try. He first pulled the supplies up with the sled. Since they were light, he succeeded easily. Next was the woman, but when the sled was halfway up, he could not pull anymore. Even though he gave his all, the sled would not move. He almost got dragged down himself, so he had to choose the second way. Thus he led the woman to hike around the snowy mountain. The raging Arctic storm greatly increased their difficulty, and from long exposure to snow and wind, the woman's health grew worse. She could not even clench her fists anymore. Even drinking water became hard. Her eyes showed red rashes, and blood seeped from her lips. But worse, her wound was severely infected. The man knew she might not make it to the destination. He placed their family photo in her hand, and gently wiped the blood from her lips. The rest of the journey could only be done alone. At that time, the man saw a blooming flower on the ground. He wondered how it survived in such a harsh place, when suddenly his foot slipped, and he fell into a cave. When he woke again, his legs were stuck tightly in the rocks. He tried to pull them out, but they were stuck too tight. The man lost control. Why did bad things always happen to him? Was he really going to die trapped here in darkness? But soon he pulled himself together. He had already finished most of the journey. He was close to rescue. No matter what, he could not give up here. Even if he died, he would die on the road. He used all his strength to pull his legs. Over and over the man endured, the pain of his thighs tearing, until he finally pulled free. But he had no time to treat the wounds, because the urgent thing now was to escape the cave. Fortunately, he soon found an exit. Then the man hurried without delay, and returned to the woman. He wanted to take her gloves, but her hand gripped tightly. He turned and saw she was not dead. Her condition had even miraculously improved. He could no longer hold back his emotions.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The man decided no matter what happened later, as long as she still had a breath, he would never give up. He treated his wound with ice and snow, then limped while taking the woman forward again. Although he did not know what lay ahead, the man believed light would eventually shine on them. After more than 10 days of hardship, they finally went around the snowy mountain. The man threw away all supplies, ready to use his last bit of strength. But just then, a helicopter appeared in sight. He could not believe it and ran down, pushing the sled and the woman up with all his might. Then immediately began calling for help. The man took out his last glow stick and waved it with all his strength. But his cry for help was so small in the snowy mountains. Before they could hear, it vanished into the air. He knew both of them were injured. It was impossible to reach the research station. This helicopter was the only chance. He lit his cotton coat, risking everything. But even after the clothes burned out, they still did not see them. Watching the helicopter disappear in the mountains, the man hugged the woman, crying in despair. Then he gently laid the woman down.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Then he unwillingly lay down too. The two held each other tightly. The man did not regret, because to live, at least he tried. At the last moment of life, having a companion, he did not feel alone. Slowly he closed his eyes, waiting for death. With the roar of a helicopter, the film ended here.